Okay, we're looking at dividing with decimals, and we have some goals that we want to keep in mind as we go through the process. The first thing we want to look at is, there we go. You want the divisor to always be a whole number. Sometimes you need to move the decimal point to make your divisor a whole number. Write in zeros if you need to. Place the quotient's decimal point directly above the new decimal point in the dividend. So you see that at the bottom, where the original decimal point's in blue, and they're showing with the arrows the movement, and the new decimal place position with the red. And we'll see how that works as we go along. So here are some examples of what they might look like. The first one would be read 12 divided by 4, and those are using whole numbers. The second one would be 1 2/10 divided by 4, and the third one would be 12/100 divided by 4. Okay, so what does 12 divided by 4 look like? So imagine this were like a Kit Kat or something, broken up it looks like. We've got 12 pieces, whatever kind of candy bar it is. We want to divide it up by 4. So one way we could do that is to circle groups of 4 bars. And we could share that with 3 friends. Each of your 3 friends could get 4 of the candy bars. What if we changed the problem a little bit and said, okay, we had 12, but now we want to make groups of 4/10. How's that different from the first one? And would we expect to see fewer or more groups than before? Well, we have to think. Difference between 4 and 4/10. 4 is a whole number. 4/10 is a part. It's a piece. So here's our original candy bar again, but this time it's going to be broken up into 4/10. So notice they're breaking it up into tenths and coloring in 4 of them. So you would be able to share more pieces with more friends, but those pieces are a lot smaller. So you could actually share with 30 friends. Pieces are really small though. So why did you have more groups when we went from 4 to 4/10? Well, again, 4 whole, those were bigger pieces. 4/10, they're small pieces. You have more of them, but they're smaller. Okay, so let's look at what 4/100 would look like. So here's our 4/10 that we just looked at. That would be how small you'd have to share with your friends. Look at the 4/100. So you have to take one of the little tiny squares and break it up even more. So you're going to have more or less pieces. Well, you're going to have a whole lot of pieces. They're just going to be really small. I could actually share that one candy bar with 300 people. That's how small they would be. Okay, so again, 12 divided by 4, we got 3 groups. 12 divided by 4/10, we got 30, but those were even smaller. And then 12 divided by 4/100, they were teeny tiny pieces, but we had 300 teeny tiny pieces. Okay, so to summarize, when we divide by a decimal less than 1, we are going to move the decimal point to the right to make the divisor a whole number. The decimal point in your answer should be directly above the new decimal point from the divisor. And on the back of your whisk, you may want to just write down this summary so that you have it when we start practicing with our numbers on our video. So let's look at the difference between that's not what I wanted. The difference between the three that they started with. Our first candy bar was 12, and they wanted us to divide it up into 4. Well, with this, I would just divide as I normally would. I would look at, does 4 go into 1? No. Does it go into 12? Yes, it goes in 3 times. I multiply, I subtract, and my answer is 3. Then they had us look at still my 12, sorry, not my 12, my 1 and 2 tenths, breaking it up. So the only difference here is I have a decimal point. So divide like you normally would. 4 goes into 1, 0. 4 goes into 12, 3. Multiply, subtract, it's even. But I've got this decimal point. All I do is I move it up. And instead of 3 wholes like we just showed on the left, our answer is 3 tenths. And that's where that candy bar, the pieces started getting smaller. We have more of them, but definitely smaller pieces. Then they had us look at 12 hundredths broken up by 4. Same thing, divide. Will 4 go into 0? No. Will it go into 1? No. Will it go into 12? Yes. Multiply, subtract. My answer up there is 3. However, I have a decimal. That decimal point, I just need to bring straight up, place it on top of my division house, and my answer is 3 hundredths, or 300 groups. So now my pieces are really, really small. Okay, so let's look at some different ways that we might see division with the placement of decimals. One of them might be where we have a decimal inside the division house like we just did, and a whole number outside. Again, just divide. Does 3 go into 1? No. Does it go into 14? Yes, 4 times. I multiply, subtract, bring down, and here's my new division. 24, 3 goes in 8 times, multiply, subtract. I don't have any to bring down, so I'm done. My answer is 48. However, go back and look, I have a decimal. So my decimal just goes straight up and becomes 48 hundredths. Okay, I'm going to give you one to try. Remember we talked about today, I want you to go ahead and pause the video after I write the numbers, of course. And I want you to try it and see how you do, and if you get stuck, where you're getting stuck. So go ahead and pause the video, try it on your own, come back and check with me. Okay, so you should have paused the video. We're going to start with just dividing. Does 6 go into 1? No. Does it go into 17? Yes, twice. 2 times 6 is 12. Subtract and bring down. Does 6 go into 54, because that's our new total? Yes. 9 times. That goes in evenly. And I'm done. If I go back up, look at your decimal. My decimal is here. I'm just going to take it straight up. It makes my answer, instead of 29, it's 2 and 9 tenths. Okay, so let's try a different one with a different placement of a decimal. What if I had decimal inside, but I also had a decimal outside? So remember, when we first started, our goals are we have to have our divisor as a whole number, and right now it's not. It's 7 tenths. So I'm going to start with the decimal, and I'm going to make the 7 tenths a whole number by just moving the decimal. So I'm going to put the decimal here. Now it's 7 wholes. Well, if I move the decimal on the outside, I have to move it with the dividend as well, not just the divisor. So I'm going to start with my decimal inside my division house with my dividend, and I'm going to move it the same number of places I moved with my divisor. I moved 1, so my new placement is in between the 9 and 8. I'm going to go ahead and put it up on top so I don't forget about it. And now just divide. 7 divided by 9, it goes in once. Multiply, subtract, bring down. 7 goes into 28 4 times. Multiply, and it went in evenly. My answer is 1 4/10. Okay, I'm going to give you one to try. Decimal inside, decimal outside. Pause the video, try it on your own, come back and check with me. Okay, so you should have tried this one on your own, and again, your first goal is divisor needs to be a whole number, and it's not. It's 7/100. So I'm going to take my decimal, I'm going to move it 1, 2 places. Now it's a whole number, but I have to move the dividends decimal as well. Dividends decimal is here. I'm going to move it the same amount of spaces. 1, 2. Here's my new location. I'm going to go ahead and put it on top. I don't want to forget about it. And now just go back and divide. 7 divided by 1, can't do that. But by 14, yes, twice. Subtract and it's even. I'm done with bringing down. My answer is 2. The decimal's on the right of the 2, so that's really just a whole 2. Okay, let's try another one. What if I had inside I just had a whole number, no decimals, but outside I have a decimal? Well, again, go back to your goals. First step is I need my divisor to be a whole number, and it's not, it's 3/10. So I'm going to take my decimal and move it, and I move it once. But if I'm moving my decimal with my divisor, I have to move it with my dividend. But my dividend does not have a decimal. But think back to when we said, okay, if I had a whole number and I need to make it a decimal, where do I put the decimal place? Well, think of it like money. If that's 45, I could say it's $45. So I would put the decimal point to the right. If I put it anywhere else, like in between the 4 and 5 or before the 4 and 5, I just made $45, either $4.50 or 45 cents. And I don't want to do that. I want to keep my $45 the value it is. So even though we don't see it, there is a decimal right here. Come back to my divisor. I moved 1 place. So in my dividend, I need to move 1 place. So my new location for my decimal is here. Bring it up to the top. I'm going to go ahead and stick it up there so I don't forget. But I have this open hole right there between the 5 and where my decimal is. Well, as with any decimals that we do, except our repeating, of course, but when we have that empty spot, we fill it in with the placeholder of 0. Now, my decimal is in line. All I have to do is go back and divide. Does 3 go into 4? Yes, once. Multiply, bring down. Does 3 go into 15? Yes. 5 times, multiply, subtract, bring down. Does 3 go into 0? No. So 0 times 0, and I'm done. My answer is 150. And because of where my decimal place is, it's 150, and it's a whole number. Okay, so let's have you try one. They look a little different, but try it and see what you do. You're going to take 12 and divide it by 300. I'm sorry, not 300s, 3,000s. Pause the video, try it on your own, and see how you do. Okay, so you should have tried this one on your own. And again, keep your goal in mind. I need my divisor to be a whole number. Right now it's not, it's in the thousands place. So I'm going to start with my decimal, and I'm going to move it 1, 2, 3 places. Now it's a whole number. But if I do that, I have to go inside the division house to my dividend and move that decimal as well. Well, we have a whole number, so the decimal appears right next to it so that we don't change the value. It's 12 wholes. We don't want to change it. I moved 3 for my divisor, so I have to move 3, 2, 3 for my dividend. This is the new location of my decimal. I'm going to go ahead and bring it on up so I don't forget about it. Now I just need to fill in all those holes. I'm going to fill it in with zeros to hold that place so that I now can divide. Now I'm just going to divide as I usually do. 3 does not go into 1, but it does go into 12 4 times. Multiply, subtract, bring down. 3 goes into 0 0 times. 0 times 0 is 0. Bring down. Well, what we're going to notice is with all these zeros, they're all going to be zeros because 3 doesn't go into any of them. My answer is 4,000, and it's a whole number because of the placement of the decimal. If you want any more practice with this, there are some websites online like mathdrills.com where you just do the computation and you can check it. You can also just make up a number, have mom or dad make up a number and check it with a calculator, see how you're doing. On Monday, make sure you have your WISC filled out. Make sure you have questions down at the bottom. Even if you yourself don't have questions, think about where are other students going to make mistakes? Where might you make a mistake? What questions may other students have that you would be able to answer? Analyze what we've done and come ready with questions on Monday. Have a great weekend.